What's up, everybody? It's Stephen Williams, founder, president of the creditrepairshop.com. In today's video, we're going to talk some more about some debt that's been released into the market. We're going to talk about collections. We're going to talk about the 1099-C. I want to explain that because there's a lot of people that are going to be having that placed on their taxes, and they're going to be wondering, why do they have a tax bill? And it's because some of the collectors or original creditors are going to choose to put those accounts on a 1099-C form. And I'm going to explain exactly what those are about. But first, before we get started, I want to tell you, if you're not up in the area, I'm up in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. If you have, if you're not in this area, uh, we just went through hell with the weather. I mean, I was like, okay, it's gonna be cold. Yeah, they even said it was gonna be 52 degrees minus with the wind, and I was thinking to myself, well, I bundle up, go out there. But I'm gonna tell you, this is the truth. When I went outside and I had on, I bundled up. I'm not crazy. I bundled myself up, put a hat on over my head. But let me tell you, when they say that it'll take like 5 minutes for frostbite, well, it might take 5 minutes for frostbite, but it'll take only like 20 to 30 seconds before you feel it. I could not go outside without gloves. I couldn't go outside without a jacket, and I couldn't even any part of my face. Uh, I'm glad that our face, right here, can our face can take a lot more than what our hands and other body parts can take. Maybe it's because of clothes. We're exposed with clothing, and it when wind hits us, that's going to react different because it's usually protected. But I'm telling you, uh, even with my hands, like I'm talking 20 seconds, I felt it. And we also had over close to 2 feet of snow, and my snow blower was acting up, but we did get that going. My son-in-law got it going. We both worked on it and got it going before the big snow, so we were able to get the snow out of there. And then that next day, they were saying if you don't get the snow out of there, the snow that's there is going to be like concrete. And they were not lying. There was a big piece, I should have videoed it, that came off of my car, and I had just left it in the driveway because thinking it, might melt or whatever. That thing turned into a solid rock, like big. You know how if you look under your car where all the slush keeps piling up. Well, what was happening because it was so cold out, the slush would pop up, but it was freezing automatically. So it was just building and building and building. And so what we do up here is we kick it off. And I had one big piece that came off, and it was like a solid rock. I'm talking about, I pushed it last night, and it was just like pushing a brick, pushing a piece of rock. It didn't break, didn't chip, nothing. And so the weather was just horrendous. If you with customer service, the way that I had to run my company, I came up on those days, but I excused my employees. A couple of them did come in, but we mainly excused everybody. We for the credit company, we were doing customer service, answering the calls only from remote areas, transferring phones to them, and but we couldn't really do any documents and all of that stuff. So it was very tough. So if you're a customer and you had a little trouble getting in touch with us, that was the real reason. You don't have to take my word for it. You can look in the news and see that we were struggling up here. I mean, everything was literally closed. So now let's get into uh, the stuff that you really care about, which is collections. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars in collections. Just to go off of the top, we got lifestyle lift over 2.7 million. We got some auto loans, 14 million. We got some credit cards, 84 million. More credit cards, 84 million. We got the payday loans, 2 million. Retail debt, over $7 million in retail. That's when you go get those credit cards. They tell you, hey, you get the discount. If you get the card, you're going to get 25% discount at the department store. But people do it, buy the stuff, and a lot of the people are defaulting on those that get them, because what's happening is usually what happens is people go and get more and more and more cards. Uh, we got some more payday loans, 7 million. We got some online college. This is a low one. An online college, 115,000. We have one for $39 million. I'm not sure what company this is with, but it's $39 million that was not paid to them. It's not stating what type. We have some hardware store credit cards, close to $500,000. I guess that's considered small. Some smaller payday loan companies, 30,000. Another one, 200,000. So I mean, we're looking at millions of dollars worth of debt that's going to be pushed out into the market, and these collection agencies are gonna go, balls to the walls on getting all of this money uh, out from people, because they know that they're going to have money coming with taxes. But also something that's going to happen is that people are going to some of the original creditors are going to start writing off debt, and they're going to put it on a 1099-C form. Now let me explain what that is. It's a debt forgiveness, and if you ever get it in the mail, it's going to be a form. It's going to look, if you ever receive a 1099 for work that you've done as a subcontractor, it's on a form like that. Looks like a W-2 form, but it's going to say 1099-C. And what that's doing is that original creditor is saying that we're giving up on collecting the money, and we want to make a filing, and that's a forgiveness of the debt. And what the IRS does is they don't say, okay, because they forgave the debt, somebody has to pay for that income. So what they're doing is actually reporting it as that, like, they forgave the debt, so you don't have to pay it, but the IRS is going to consider everything as income to you because you were able to buy products and services or utilize the capital that they gave you to do whatever you were doing with the card or with the money or whatever. So what happens is a lot of people get hit with this on their taxes, and they're like, I filed my taxes and I filed my W-2 form, I did my income, and all of a sudden I got a tax bill from the IRS saying that I owe this money. And that's exactly where it comes from, 1099-C. For some reason, I don't know why, or people overlook it. When they get it in the mail, a lot of people overlook what it actually means, or they don't know what it means. And when they understand that the debt has been forgiven, they kind of, push it out of their mind, because it's like, okay, I'm lucky. I don't have to pay any of this money to them. But that's exactly what will happen. And there's was a ton of people last year. I made a video like right around this time last year about this very topic, because there were some people, a client of ours had got forgiven over $30,000 with a Citibank credit card, and then he was hit with a 1099-C form saying that he had an extra 30 something $1,000 that was not accounted for on his taxes, and he needed to pay the tax on that. And it makes just a big mess, especially if you've already filed your taxes, you've gotten your refund, and this happens, or you file your taxes and then you don't get a refund that was expected, and this is the reason why. It's like it gobbles up your money. Just think, if you're making uh, $30,000 a year and you have a $15,000 or $20,000 credit card where they decided to forgive the debt and put it on a 1099-C form, and that bumps you up to $50,000 a year in income. How is that going to look on your taxes? It's going to gobble up your entire income tax refund. So you got to be very, very careful about dealing with those. And some people ask me, is there anything that they could do? Yes, you can. You have to uh, file your taxes with that amount to do an adjustment, where you can update your tax with that. Or the other one is they're going to say you need to just pay the money. That's really going to be the solution to the situation. There's not going to be any other way. So you either going to refile it so you can have all of your deductions and everything placed in there with what they're considering the additional income, so you can see if what your tax burden would be, or you would have to pay the additional tax that they say you have to pay according to what the additional income is. And then from there you can do settlements. You can do settlements based on hardship with the IRS, and you may not have to pay any of it, or you may only have to pay a certain amount. Now, one that you need to be aware of is that if you were foreclosed on and you received this, that is it's an exemption unless they've changed the law. You never know. We got to always keep up on it. But as far as I know and understand, it was put into place when President Obama was president, and they had made it to where if you got a foreclosure, that income, even though it was forgiven, the amounts or balances forgiven on second mortgages or whatever, that was not able to be collected, and it was not able to be placed as a 1099-C as additional income to you. So be very careful when dealing with those. So now, dealing with collection accounts, and I always like to reiterate and go over how to deal with collection accounts. So we went through step one is the form, where they're going to buy the debt and then they're going to collect it. Now, I want to add another step in there, and I think on some of the videos I may have missed it. If there's two ways that the collector can get the debt. There's some companies that buy bulk of debt, and then what they do is they let debt collectors assume it, or be assigned the debt, where they're going to collect it and then pay them a portion of what they collect. So no matter what, there's going to be this trail, and each piece of that trail is going to have to be validated. So the first part, if the original creditor is coming after you for it, and what I'm talking of right now is that they have not taken you to court to get a judgment. We're just talking about this is a collection. They either are coming after you for it, or they sold it, or it's been assigned to another collector. Step one in that is when you receive that letter is asked to have all of the information validated, even with the original creditor, just to make sure that they kept all of the appropriate information. You can review contracts, make sure that things were not incorrect when you got the credit card or the loan or whatever the debt is. Make sure that they did everything that is appropriate. 9 times out of 10, they did. So then the next step is when it goes to a collector, in either situation, assigned, assumed, or purchased. You need to validate them, because they have to take all of that paperwork and it needs to be in their hand. Now, if they're collecting it for the original creditor, then they'll be able to just get the information from them, but you still should make them do that, because you need to establish that they have a right to come after you for the collection. So the next step, after we've dealt with the original creditor and now we're dealing with these collectors that could be assigned, assumed, or purchased, we need to validate that they, number one, have a right to come after you for it, and they need to prove everything about the debt, paperwork, contracts, how they got it. They have to prove that, how they are legally able to come after you for the money. Everything, you need to have that validated. And if they don't provide it, then you need to immediately tell them to cease and desist all contact with you, because they have not established a legal anything legal to allow them to come after you for the debt. A lot of it ends right there. And when I'm looking at these sheets here, a lot of these debts that are on here were accumulated in 2009, 2008, 2007. People don't even know this, that one of the things that you validate when you're doing a validation with the original creditor or debt collector, if they haven't taken you to court and gotten a judgment against you, each state has different statute of limitations for contract laws. So you need to look at your state. The first thing that I would do when looking at a collection that comes in, the first thing that I would do from original creditor or debt collector is to look at the origination date on it, not the date that they took it, the origination date on the debt. Immediately go to your state's statutes for statute of limitations on contract loans or contracts and see if it's past that. If it's past that, don't go into all of the other stuff. Just immediately send them a letter saying that you are not legally responsible for this debt because it's past your state's statute of limitations. The only way that they could get around that is if you pay even $1 payment to them to get you off of your back. That resets the whole time period for the statute of limitations. So be very careful when dealing with collectors. One of the things that I always tell my clients to do when dealing with debt collectors or even original creditors, when you're trying to run through this process with them, is keep communications open and let them know that you just need to keep reviewing documents and that you're going to be requesting documents from them so you can move forward and look at what resolution can come from this. They'll be very open and receptive to that because most people will run and hide from them. That will give you time to review and see if the statute of limitations number one is correct, and then to start going through the full validation process. If they validate it, it doesn't matter if the collector, assume, assign, or purchase. If they validate it and they haven't taken you to court yet, then the next thing that I would tell you to do is to arrange some type of settlement at a discount. You got to do that just so it doesn't move on to tearing up your credit or making it worse, or them getting a judgment and then they're doing a garnishment of your income. You can almost every collector would rather settle in that middle ground rather than put more money and having an attorney have to go to court, or having to pay an attorney from another area to go to court for them. They'd rather get what they can get from there. And so if you have any questions, I mean, I hope I've helped you out here. That's my main goal, is just to get you the information. And I know that I repeat it over and over and over again, but that's the secret to success, is when you hear something and you finally get it in. Every time you probably listen to my video, a little bit of what I say, even though it's the same thing on how to deal with it, something else, because your awareness opens up, your awareness to working out something opens up, and you hear a little bit more of what I'm telling you to do to get yourself into a good situation with your credit. So if you need help, visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. And until next time, and please post your comments. I love hearing them. Thank you.